And we are live. Alright. On this episode of DistroTube Live, tonight what I'm going to do is there are a couple of community spins, I guess we would call them. There are two viewers of this channel that you guys probably see all the time. You guys see Ben Fitzpatrick, one of the regular here on the channel. A lot of times he joins the live streams in the chat. He also sometimes appears on Total OS Today's stream. Sometimes he's on Big Daddy's stream. So you guys that follow a lot of the Linux channels, you guys probably see Ben around a lot. He has his own custom Manjaro spin. He has a Manjaro custom spin that uses XFCE for a desktop environment. He's been asking me to take a look at that, so I'm going to take a look at that this evening. Also, you guys probably know the user Presentarms. Most of the time he's in the streams too. Hopefully he shows up tonight. He has a community spin of PCLinuxOS that uses the Trinity desktop. Apparently he's a contributor for that. So, and he is in the chat. So let's take a look at the chat here. Some of you guys that are already here. Nick says, hey. Comrade Curio, hey. How you guys doing? Steen is also in the chat. Presentarms, he just got it. Alright, Kevin Patel. Hi, y'all. Hi, Kevin. Yep, Presentarm. Waves, Kerwin Jones is also in the chat. He says, hey, DT. How you doing, Kerwin? So, I assume that probably at least one of these YouTubers would show up, either Ben or Presentarms, you know. So I'd actually been meaning to take a look at both of y'all's custom spins here. Actually, Ben has been bugging me about his custom spin for a couple of weeks, and I've had some issues trying to run it on a USB key, but installing it and running it in VirtualBox, his spin works just fine. I've had the opposite problem with the PCLinuxOS Trinity, doing live USB or just running it live in VirtualBox. Runs like a champ. Getting it to install inside VirtualBox though, can't get it to install for some reason. I can't get Grub to install in that thing, but we'll get into that later. First, I'm going to start with Ben's Manjaro spin today. So let me fire up VirtualBox here. Yeah, Mark Yates is in the house. How you doing, Mark? And Axamandro is also here. He says, hi, interesting. I use Namib Linux. Yep. Thomas Holt is also in the chat. He says, hey, DT. Hey, Thomas. Yeah, I love the software personally for my bookkeeping, but I had to move away because I need my books to be very accurate. Presentarms, sure. We'll compare setups. Yeah, we might do some comparisons of you and Ben's distros. Obviously, there's not much to compare. Very different distros. One is based on Manjaro, which is based on Arch. The other is based on PCLinuxOS, which is a RPM distro. Manjaro is, of course, a rolling release distro. PC Linux is also a rolling release distro, but it's not as bleeding edge rolling as an Arch-based distro. Obviously, Ben's distro is going to be XFCE. Presentarms distro is going to be Trinity. And Ben is in the house. He just joined the chat as well. Great, so both of you guys showed up. Yeah, Ben says, hi guys. Tim F is also here. What's shaking tonight? Not much, Tim. Tim, you probably are familiar, well, I know you're familiar with Ben, and also the YouTube username Presentarms. He's often, in a lot of these Linux streams. Both those guys have their own custom Linux distros, if you will. So I'm going to take a look at them tonight. Matter of fact, the last time I did a live stream, both of you guys were giving me links to your distros. So, and I pulled them down that evening, but I've just got around to taking a look at them really about 2 hours ago. 2 hours ago, I started installing both of them at the same time in a VM. I didn't actually give you guys an alert on the channel here that I was doing the stream until about 45 minutes ago, because I didn't want to send out an alert 2 hours ago, because I wasn't for sure that these things would even boot up. I'd never looked at them before. You know, were they going to give me any problems or anything? So once I realized that, you know, both distros function correctly, then I sent out the alert for the stream tonight. All right, so I'm going to take a look at Ben's Manjaro respin here first. And I actually installed this in a VM, so this is not going to be looking at it, you know, in the live environment. This is actually fully installed here in VirtualBox. The install works exactly the same as you would expect any Manjaro install. The Calamares installer, pretty straightforward. Took, you know, 15 minutes to install. Other than installing it, I actually haven't looked at it yet, Ben. I just went through the install, and once I knew, you know, the installer worked, and then after the install, I ran an update. Other than that, I haven't looked at it. But we have the Manjaro Hello greeter, the standard greeter that you see in a lot of the Manjaro spins. By default, it's ticked on to always launch at start. I usually tick that off because after this first time seeing it, I really don't need to see it again. But of course, it has links to documentation, README, the release info, the wiki, support, forums, chat room, mailing lists, and how to get involved in the project and donate to the project. Standard stuff to get you guys involved with Manjaro. Just off the bat, the wallpaper. Really nice wallpaper, Ben. Was that your decision? I like it. I like dark wallpapers against light themes. That works really well. The dark wallpaper against the light panel. Now, Ben did make a warning. Let me get back to the chat because he's letting us know some information here. Just a fair warning, the black and purple theme didn't copy in the ISO. I don't know why. Okay, so the panel here, I'm assuming what Ben is saying. Let me get back to the panel is actually supposed to be black and purple along with the black and purple wallpaper. Is that what's going on here, Ben? So this isn't your actual theme here. If I open up the file manager, wow, we've got wobbly windows out of the box. I wasn't expecting that. That's a very nice touch. So I guess we're using some Compiz effects. Let's see. You know, Thomas is asking, what's the best site to learn RPM? I'm thinking of installing either OpenSUSE or Gecko, looking for some good documentation. I'm not much on RPM distros. I really don't know much about them. Looked at Fedora a few times, off and on over the years. That's about it. And by I've looked at it, I mean run it for a few days. I've never lived in it. Don't know much about SUSE. PCLinuxOS I know nothing about, which is going to make my review of Presentarms distro here in a minute kind of interesting. Because I don't really know anything about PCLinuxOS. So you're asking the wrong guy about RPM distros. Very comfortable in the Debian world and the Arch world. I get by okay with Gentoo, the RPM distros. Kind of a noob. Tim F. didn't get a chance to give congrats the other night. You were having connection issues. Awesome milestones. Thank you. Let's see. Yeah, do I run my VMs on an SSD? That's correct. I have a 500 gig solid state drive. Just one drive here in my main production machine. I really need to get more storage though because I run out of space sometimes, keeping so many VMs around. Yeah, Ben mentions the theme will be fixed. Well, I'm not too concerned with the theme, to be honest. Not that big as far as the theming. Actually, even though your theme is not here, what it defaults to here actually works. Like if you wouldn't have told me that this theme wasn't what you had chosen, I'll be honest, the light silvery gray theme against the dark wallpaper is a really nice contrast. So we got wobbly windows. I could sit here and wobble for days. And it actually works really well in a VM. This VM, I gave 2 cores in my CPU. I gave the VM 4 gigs of RAM. Anyway, let's check out the menu here. I guess this is the whisker menu, the XFCE whisker menu. Looks a little weird because I'm not sure why this search field is so gigantic. I guess it has to be this tall because these icons are that tall. But I'm assuming that is not the way Ben probably intended this menu to look. Just going out on a limb there. See if I can make this menu a little bigger. It doesn't want to let me adjust the menu size here. Oh no. That might just be a problem with the VM. Usually you can adjust that menu size. Anyway, under accessories, it looks like it's the standard XFCE stuff. The archive manager, the bulk rename tool, catfish file search, the clipman, which is of course our clipboard, that sits in the system tray here. The Compiz Fusion icon, start and manage Compiz. I haven't seen a distro that included that in so long. I forgot all about the Compiz Fusion icon. Do you have the Compiz settings manager installed? I would assume you do. Yeah, Compiz config settings manager. Let's see what Compiz effects you have installed here. Let's see. So, do you have the Expo installed? So, if we change desktops. Yep, that's the Expo. You have the Cube installed. Not sure if the Cube is going to work in a VM. I can try it though. Yep. Well, at least the Expo is working. Let's see. Then 3D effects. We don't have 3D windows enabled by default. I would like to enable that, but I'm afraid of what it might do in the VM. You have animations and animations plus and animations add-ons all installed. Fire paint. Let's see. What is the initiate key for? Guess it's disabled. Super shift button 1. Now some of this is going to conflict because I live in a tiling window manager, so anything with the super key will conflict with what's going on in my host machine, Qtile. The mod key for that is the super key. So some of these Compiz effects require the super key. That might give me a problem. You have the cube, reflection and deformation. Anyway, if I would have known you had all these Compiz effects turned on, I would have tried to actually put this on a live key, USB key, and tried to stream from inside the live USB key where the effects were more likely to function correctly rather than the VM. But I'm glad I went through your install. I don't know how many people have went through the trouble of installing your custom spin, but the install worked fine. It was a 15-minute Manjaro install. So we'll get back to this in just a second. I did pour myself a beverage here. It is about 8:30 p.m. here in the Central Time Zone in the U.S. Had a easy day here today. Spent some time in the yard. Needed to mow. The grass was getting a little tall. Let's see. Yeah, Matt King mentions Mandriva was the best as far as RPM distros. I never really played with Mandriva. Yeah, Ben, the theme was going to be fixed. Karora is an excellent distro for new users. Yeah, I do like Karora. Boot the ISO and you can install. Presentarms, yeah, you see the issue. Change the setting on the system for EFI. Okay. That's why Grub is not installing properly. Well, I probably will just review yours as a live disk. The install worked properly up until the point you get to the Grub install. And yeah, if it needs to be installed for EFI, that's the problem. No. Let's see. Matt King, you're all about SSD storage. Good stuff. Mark Yates, it's a little heavy for older hardware, but for newer machines, you should be fine. For advanced users, intermediate or advanced users, I'd say OpenSUSE or Fedora. Yep. Yeah. Anaximandro. Greetings from El Salvador. Linux should be used in schools. Yeah, I agree. Children must learn to use it. Yeah, and a lot more schools are looking to things like Linux because they can be run on really old hardware. A lot of school systems, usually their machines are very old. Windows struggles to run on them. So, and then we have a lot of distros that are geared toward education. Things like EndlessOS, which was a really nice distro that was really aimed at education, you know, being run in a school. Yeah, Presentarms PCLinuxOS uses apt for RPM. So when updating, it's apt-get update, apt-get upgrade. Yeah. I think I remember that the last time I looked at PCLinuxOS on the channel. Yeah, it does use apt, even though it's a RPM distro. It's a little strange. Yeah, Marco asks, is my personal Qtile config available for download anywhere? It is. I have a GitHub repo that's got all my configs for OpenBox, Qtile, Xmonad, everything. And it is github.com DWT1. Yeah, Presentarms, that's fine. Yeah, I'm just going to look at it live because I don't want to take the time to run through the install again. Which your install process was pretty quick too. I want to say, I don't know, 10 or 15 minutes, about the same as the Manjaro install. The only thing is the last step really is that grub install. You know, it kept giving me some problems. I couldn't figure out why. You know, I would open the terminal, you know, run fdisk or cfdisk, make sure the mount points were correct. You know, the partition was bootable and all that. For some reason, you know, I couldn't get grub to install. EFI, of course. Okay. Anyway, looking back here at the bins, Manjaro spin. Let's see. Do you have Steam installed by default here, or is this just the installer? Yeah, this is the installer. Okay. See, graphics. I like that GIMP is here. Every distro should include GIMP. You know, unless you're really making a small, minimal ISO, you know, I understand why things like Puppy and TinyCore wouldn't include something like GIMP, but if you're making an image that's over 1 gig in size anyway, go ahead and put GIMP on it. It's one of those programs that always needs to be there. Under Internet, we've got the Vahi server, Deluge, which is a really nice BitTorrent client. Not a lot of distros include Deluge by default. It's a really, really cool BitTorrent client. I also think it has a command line interface. I think you can, for those that prefer doing everything in a terminal, I think, pretty sure Deluge has a command line interface to it. Firefox is our web browser. Was that Firefox and Chrome are both on the system? I just updated this too, so I already know, since I live in Manjaro on my host machine, it's going to be the latest Firefox, version 60. Firefox 60.0.1. Well, did you see how slow that window wobbled? Now that's Firefox. Firefox is kind of a system resource hog, so Google Chrome is going to be the same way. The only difference is Firefox, of course, is free and open source software, where you know, Google Chrome is going to be proprietary garbage. Make Google Chrome the default browser? No. Send usage stats and crash reports to Google? No, thank you. I don't think I want to send anything Google's way. Actually, it's got a little pep in its step. It's not as slow as Firefox was as far as opening. Choose password for new keyring. Come on, get rid of that. I don't like pop-ups. Pop-ups remind me of Windows. Hex chat for our IRC, Pigeon. Skype. Is that the Skype installer? Or is it already installed? Nothing happened when okay, there it goes. It just takes a second. So it's already installed. Very cool. Not a lot of distros include Skype, of course, for moral reasons. They won't include proprietary software, especially proprietary software made by Microsoft. TeamViewer is another proprietary program, but I really like TeamViewer. TeamViewer is great for remote desktop. And we have a end-user license agreement that we'd have to accept. I'm not going to accept it. I'm not really going to use TeamViewer anyway, not in a VM. Thunderbird is our email client. Our terminal emulator. Let's see what terminal Ben is using here. Now, of course, it's the XFCE terminal, which is a fine terminal. Well, I could wobbly window all day. And of course, we got the window snapping. If I drag it at the top, does it become full screen? Yes, it does. Pull it back down. Looking at the chat here. Let's see. Yeah, Mark Yates mentions UEFI BIOS, very insecure and completely optional. I always legacy boot now with Linux on purpose. You know, I've never bothered with UEFI. I always do the legacy boot as well. Not because of, you know, being insecure. It's just, I just never bothered with UEFI. Yeah, Grub2 I use hates MBR for some reason. You have to pray to the MBR gods. Yeah. That's weird. Now, for one thing, you should make if your partitions, MBR is usually used for BIOS. GPT is used for UEFI, I believe. Is what most people do. Because there can be some issues doing it the other way. Let's see, Ben. Glad you like my distro. I worked my arse off on it. Yeah, Presentarms. Ben, it's really nice. Yeah, it looks great. You mentioned, you know, the theme is not right. This is not your theme, but even with whatever it defaults to, whatever the default XFCE theme here is, I mean, it looks solid. Yeah, Mark Yates, I'm now proudly on Solid XK. I'm booted into it now, watching you and doing remote in sessions. Yeah, I've looked at that. I believe I did the Solid K, the KDE edition on the channel before. Solid distro. Keegan, you've updated your privacy policy. Great. I need to get around to updating mine. The jellyfish-like window effects matches the jellyfish background. That's pretty cool. I agree. Presentarms, you've used PCLinuxOS since 2007. Wow. Yeah, it changed to a rolling release around 2010. Very cool. Yeah, Presentarms says yes. DistroTube. So as far as, yeah, MBR versus GPT, UEFI, and BIOS. I don't know much about that stuff, again, because I never use UEFI, so I always do, you know, master boot record, BIOS. Have you ever considered doing a show wearing a black suit with a red tie? No, I haven't. Yeah, Mark Yates, yeah, that's correct. If you install Grub or Grub2 for Linux, you need to match GPT disk schemes to UEFI or master boot record MBR to BIOS. Yeah, that's what I thought. I know there, if you guys got any questions about GPT versus MBR, check out the Arch wikis or the Gentoo wikis. They go into more detail about that. Agent 47, yeah. Anyway, looking through some of what else is on here. Did we go through the rest of internet? Yeah, multimedia. Wow, a lot of multimedia apps. Acetone ISO. CD, DVD, image manipulator. I haven't seen acetone in a long time. I remember playing around with this program many, many years ago to burn DVDs, burn ISOs. You have Audacious, Clementine, so two different music players. DVD. DVD is really nice also to burn DVDs, of course. Gradio. Gradio's a neat little app. I reviewed this one, I think, on the channel. Early on in the channel's history. Really neat. Internet radio app. Let's see. Your library is empty. I wonder how I get more. I don't remember. Import. I'm not sure where I'd import it from. The search button. There we go. And I better not play anything for fear of getting flagged, but Gradio is really nice, and I believe it minimizes down here. Skype minimized down there. Let me quit that. Let's see, is that Pamac that's also running here? Yeah, let's get rid of that. You have GUVC View. Great webcam app. K3B. K3B is awesome. Love K3B. That's another disk burning utility. So 3 different disk burners so far. Still haven't gotten through the rest of the multimedia. Let's see what else is in here. Kdenlive, of course. Everybody's got to have Kdenlive. OBS. Very cool. Simple screen recorder. You've got all my favorite apps in the multimedia category. You really do. VLC. I love VLC. And XFburn. Okay, one more disk burning utility. It makes sense why XFburn is here. It's a XFCE app, so. Alright, back to the chat here. More Agent 47 talk. Robert's in the chat. Could you point to some good tutorials on using Git for noobs? Not offhand. Git is not that complicated. The problem is if you don't use it all the time, you know, some of the commands, you know, you forget. I mean, even I don't use Git that often. But as far as offhand, could I tell you where to go to find, you know, good documentation, easy to read, easy to learn stuff for Git now? For Git, that is. Yeah, Ben, this distro is aimed to make Manjaro super easy for new users. I would agree. Manjaro XFCE, even their flagship product, is pretty easy on the new user. I think just about every computer user would feel comfortable on it. What you've got here with your suite of apps is even better, I think. And of course you got the wobbly windows. The real question is, how stable is Compiz? Because for you to use Compiz here, this is an older version of Compiz, right? I know Compiz is a dead project now, but when Canonical basically took it over because of Unity, because Unity is a Compiz plugin, I'm sure you're using one of the old Compiz versions pre-Unity. Let's see, Keegan, weather alert goes off for flash flood warning. Yeah, we had some weather warnings last night here. Weather today, though, is pretty good. Matt King, so in Git, how do you move your working directory without messing up your commits? I never figured it out and stopped using it. How do you move your working directory without it messing up your commits? I couldn't tell you that offhand. Again, I don't use Git that much. I have, you know, my GitHub repo. You know, I probably, you know, push things to it, I don't know, once every couple of months. I think about it. You know, all my dot files, my config files. But I'm not somebody that has to use Git all the time. I'm not a developer, so I'm not a Git master. But I would think they probably have some kind of support channel somewhere for Git. Either on, you know, something like GitHub, maybe, or maybe Git has a IRC chat channel. I would bet they do, actually. Maybe check, see if they have something on the Freenode network. Alright, Office. Office, we have AbiWord, Dictionary, GNU Merrick, Calendar, Global Time, QPD View. Very cool. Since your ISO is kind of large anyway, Ben, you might consider just putting LibreOffice on it and getting rid of AbiWord and Numeric. I think most people, that's what they're going to use anyway for Office suites anyway. It's just LibreOffice. It's kind of the standard. I mean, I understand why a lot of folks put AbiWord and Numeric on their ISOs because they're lightweight. much more lightweight than something like LibreOffice. But if you're already adding Compiz and all the effects, you've got, you know, just this whole slew of multimedia apps installed, yeah, just go ahead and install LibreOffice. You know, you had Steam, the installer anyway for Steam already here. Let's see, and of course the settings, your standard XFCE stuff, plus the Compiz settings. You have your firewall configuration, an easy way to configure your firewall, the light DM greeting settings. Most of the rest of this stuff is your standard stuff. We have gparted. We have htop. Let's open up htop. See what kind of system resources we're using here in this VM. Let's let it settle down for a second. I'm going to take a sip of my beverage. Alright, CPU. Once it settles down is, yeah, low single digits. You know, between 2% and 6%. Pretty good. Memory usage. 488 megs. That's actually not bad. XFCE with Compiz effects. And we actually opened a few programs. There's quite a bit of stuff going on in the sys tray here. That's actually really good. CPU and memory. That's not bad. Definitely lightweight compared to things like GNOME. Much lighter than GNOME. Much lighter than KDE too. Definitely lighter than Cinnamon. Lighter than Budgie. Lighter than Mate. Alright, well, we've pretty much covered at least all the programs installed. Oh, when you right click on the desktop, what is this? What is this right click menu? Is this supposed to be here, or is this a bug, Ben? I'm assuming you wanted the right click menu here, but I bet you did not want some of these icons are just gigantic. You see, some of them are normal size icon for a right click menu, but then some of the programs, you know, the icons are like, I don't know, 256 by 256 pixels or whatever. Yeah, Keegan, he keeps a decent DVD collection. I like having a physical copy that's not dependent on the internet to play. Yeah, I do too. Steen, no flash flooding here. We've got the hottest May in 150 years here in Denmark. It's been very warm here too. I mean, it's Louisiana. It's always warm here, but it's been kind of warm here early in the year. Which makes, you know, what's ahead in July and August, it's going to be brutal. Let's see. Now, Nalras Ali, he says check udacity.com for a course on Git. You know, that's not a bad idea. You know, there are a lot of free, like Linux courses on various websites on the web. If you guys really want to, you know, dive a little deeper in Linux, there's a lot of actually free websites. I mean, you don't have to pay for some of the courses out there. Some of them do very good free tutorials. DistroTube, can you say names are for friends, so I don't need one? Steen, I've come to like Glances much over htop. Find Glances more informative. Yeah, I like Glances too. Let's see, Oscar, this old PC is tapping out at all these tabs. Yeah, Ben, that size might be a bug. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that might be a bug in the right-click menu, yeah. Yeah, Maverick says, hi, distro. How you doing, Maverick? Anyway, regardless of how the icons look, because I'm sure this will get straightened out once Ben has his theme here. I hope. But anyway, it looks like your standard right-click menu in XFCE. You have your desktop settings, which is actually what I was going to go to. Looks like you also have your right-click, almost open box-like menu here, which is really nice. Anyway, desktop settings. I was just going to see what kind of wallpapers were here. I'm not sure what wallpaper pack you're using here, Ben. Is it like one of the standard XFCE wallpaper packs? It looks like it's one of the standard Manjaro wallpaper packs. So, pretty cool Manjaro stuff. I don't know about this one here. I don't think I should put that one on the desktop. I'm pretty sure my video is going to get demonetized if I'm putting that particular picture up. You know what? I'm going to stick with the jellyfish. That seems to be the safest one there. Oh. Anyway, that's just a very quick look at Ben's custom Manjaro spin. Anything you want to mention about your spin, feel free to let us know in the chat, Ben. I'm going to move on and check out Presentarms PCLinuxOS Trinity here in just a second. Overall, I'm actually pretty impressed. Ben, do you have a website for this? I linked where this ISO that I downloaded was on Google Drive, so the folks in the chat, if you're interested, can download it. But I wasn't for sure if you actually had like a web page or, you know, some SourceForge page for your spin. If you do, put it in the chat, and I'll make sure I put it in the description of this video. Yeah, Presentarms. Ben, you did an awesome job. Yeah, that's the thing, you know. Yeah, and I agree. Ben did an awesome job. Presentarms, you're going to do an awesome job here in a minute. It's kind of a big undertaking to like do your own distro, to spin up your own distro. It's a lot bigger job than I think some people think it is. I get a lot of folks on the channel here, especially when I'm doing all my open box stuff or all my Qtile stuff. Man, it would be great if you did your own distro, you know, based on Arch, using OpenBox, and, you know, and no, it wouldn't be. It would be a lot of work. And then think about all the people that might download the thing. Some of them are going to run into issues. They're going to look to me for support. Just like, you know, they're going to look to Ben for support on his distro, and Presentarms for support on his distro. I really don't want to be a support channel. I admire those that do, though. It's a lot of work. A lot of work. Yeah, Ben says, no, I need one. I was talking about a web page. Yeah. Probably the easiest thing, Ben, until if you don't want to buy like a domain and actually set up like a WordPress site or something, just host a page over at SourceForge. You can probably put something up at SourceForge in, you know, 15 minutes. You can go ahead and put your ISO for download on SourceForge too. Takes care of all of it. Yeah, Kerwin, I had no idea how hard it is to build your own distro. Yeah, it's some work. Yeah, Presentarms. I can do an open box one, yeah. Not going to, but I could. Okay, well, let's go ahead and let's take a look at PCLinuxOS Trinity. This particular, I guess, community respin of PCLinuxOS. Now, again, this is Presentarm, who is in the chat. This is his baby. I know he works on it, and you guys have 2 devs for this, right? Yeah, Steen also mentions, I am a web developer if you need some advice. Nice of you to offer that, Steen. Yeah, Ben, you're going to re-upload it to SourceForge, yeah. Yeah, if you host at SourceForge, you're already going to have a page at SourceForge, so there you can go ahead and write a little blurb about what your distro is about, you know, what its goal is, who it's aimed at. Okay, let's see. Sitting here looking at the chat, yeah. Ben, SourceForge, Steen, he's a web developer. Steve, I ran SID years ago without issue. Been unstable recently. You know, I've run SID a little bit, and I don't know. SID is not stable. I find Arch to be a bit more stable than SID, actually. It's just been my experience, though. Yeah, Comrade Curio. I tried to build my own archery spin. I got mostly done, but gave up after a little. Midfinger's guide was very useful. Very cool. Alright, so I'm going to do Presentarms, his PCLinuxOS Trinity here. And again, we're going to look at this essentially as a live CD. Let's see if I can make it full screen. I believe the VirtualBox guest editions are not going to work in this. Not in the live environment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the screen a little bigger. Once it finally loads up here, I'll zoom in a little bit for us here in OBS watching it. Might take a minute for the live environment to load. I'm going to go back to the chat for a second. Yeah, Toby, I think there was some easy time to make a distro with SUSE Studio. Yeah, it's OpenSUSE based, but it was very easy. A lot of distros have tools to make spins of that particular distro. SUSE, of course, had SUSE Studio. Manjaro has a set of tools to make custom spins of Manjaro, which I'm not sure if Ben is familiar with those tools. I'm not sure if he used any of them to make his ISO. Yeah, Presentarms. There's no VirtualBox editions in the live. Yep. It'll be alright, though. I think when I looked at it earlier, the screen resolution wasn't too small. I think it was 1024. So, and I'm gonna zoom it in a little bit here on screen, so we'll be able to see it. Matt King, why not? Long story. You know what though? The last time I looked at PCLinuxOS, I don't think the VirtualBox guest editions worked on it as a live environment either in VirtualBox. So it's probably something that, you know, it would require some work for Presentarms to actually get those things, you know, because they're not already baked in PCLinuxOS. Anyway, let's see what's going on here. We're still waiting for this thing to boot up. Well, let me make sure everything's all right. Okay, there it goes. I was actually about to start checking the VirtualBox settings, make sure I didn't do anything weird with this VM. Yeah, Presentarms in the chat is talking about he does have instructions on his page to do so. To get the VirtualBox guest editions. Okay. Again, this is taking a little bit of time to load here. It's not unusual booting directly off the ISO here. Or if we were running this as a live CD, DVD, USB. It takes a long time for these to load up sometimes. It can take a couple of minutes. Undefined Particle is in the chat. He says, hello DT in the chat. How are you doing, Undefined? Good to see you. Yeah, Presentarms says it's taking too much time. It is taking a little bit of time. This is longer than usual for most distros. I will agree with that. It is about to get there, though. Okay, we're there. It's asking keyboard, US keyboard. Yeah, might be some bugginess to it here. Yeah, Presentarms is asking where is it stuck. Well, he probably asked that. There's a delay between the chat and the video. So yeah, he just now realized it's good. Alright, so in case we need it, if we need to do anything as root, the name for it is root, the pass is root. I doubt I'm going to do anything as root here, just checking out the live environment, but it's there if we need it. Here's the installer, and the installer works fine. I'm not going to bother running through the install here, but it's probably a 15-minute install. The only thing that failed on me was, again, in the VM, I need to go change this VM to use EFI for Grub to install properly. I did not set this VM to do that, so the very last part of the install is installing Grub. It kept throwing up errors, so PC Linux OS, I don't know that much about. Again, it's rolling release. It is a RPM distro. Other than that, I looked at PC Linux OS on the channel, on the YouTube channel. And other than that, I don't think I've ever done anything with PC Linux OS. Never lived in it, so. Anyway, Trinity. I really like the Trinity desktop environment. Trinity is basically a fork. Basically, it's a continuation, really, of the old KDE 3 desktop. KDE, when it reached version 3.5, was a really fantastic desktop environment. So fantastic that the KDE developers decided to kill it and create KDE 4, which was complete and total garbage, and everybody hated it. So, a lot of people, did not agree with that decision. So what they did was they just took KDE 3.5. It's open source software. You know what? We'll fork it. We'll call it Trinity, and we'll just keep going with it. And that's what they did. So, looking at the menu here, very old school menu. This really reminds you of more like a Windows kind of menu, like the old Windows start menu. Almost like Windows 98 like or something here. Anyway, under development we have an icon browser. Edutainment is a category. We have LibreOffice Math, games. Let's see, Cough, K-Reversey, K-Mines, Same Game, K-Pac-Man. Graphics, yeah, very cool. You got GIMP on it too. I give both Ben and Presentarms big props. Yeah, have GIMP on the ISO. I like GIMP. Alright, and the standard KDE stuff, Digicam, GwenView. You have Xsane for scanning and Xscan image. Alright, under Internet, you're also doing Firefox as the default browser. Reading some funny stuff in the chat here, but let's see what version of Firefox PC Linux OS is on. They're also on the very latest 60.0.1. Very cool. Now let's close multiple tabs. I'm gonna get back to the chat so you guys see some of what I was talking about here. Toby, yeah, it looks kind of like Windows ME or some basic XP. Yeah, that's what I was just saying on the channel or in the stream. Rex Evans says it looks outdated. Matt King says you mean outstanding. Yeah, Steve is asking Steen. Bunsen Labs feels about perfect as a Debian distro. Very nice, decked out, open box. I agree. Bunsen Labs is nice. For fun, I would consider working on a Fluxbox Debian distro that is decked out as Antics. Yep. I'm not sure how many people would want a Fluxbox distro, to be honest, though. There just doesn't seem to be that much interest in Fluxbox in comparison to OpenBox. Usually, the only distros that use Fluxbox are like minimal distros, and they put Fluxbox there basically as a placeholder because Fluxbox has a panel by default. It's very lightweight, but they understand that most people are going to install probably something else other than Fluxbox on their distro, so they don't call it like, my Fluxbox edition. They usually just call it their minimal edition. I know that's what Sabian does. Sabian has a minimal edition. Now the Fluxbox window manager is installed by default, but probably 95% of the people that install that thing end up installing some other window manager or desktop environment. Yeah, Presentarms. Okay, I just installed as an MBR and the bloody thing worked. Really? In VirtualBox? Now that is interesting because it doesn't work here for me. And it's not just your spin here. It's not just PCLinuxOS Trinity. There's just the regular PCLinux OS gives me the same error in VirtualBox. But the regular PCLinux OS offers me the option of installing Lilo, Lilo. When I choose that particular bootloader install is fine. Alright. Let's see. So, multimedia apps. Actually, let's finish out the internet, because really all we looked at was the browser. Standard KDE stuff. KNet, KTorrent, Conqueror. I haven't seen Conqueror in a long time. I believe Conqueror is a dead project, by the way. Conqueror was KDE's default web browser for a long time. Conqueror with a K. See, look at your home folder. Conversation with a K, of course, is the IRC client. Let's see, it connects to the Trinity network, or the Trinity chat channel, I guess, for support. You guys that need support with the Trinity desktop. Alright, multimedia, we have Amarok. That's an interesting one too, because Amarok was pretty much a dead project until recently. Like, they had a release very recently, within the last month, and that was the first release of Amarok in years. Pretty much Amarok died, and all the development from Amarok, they basically went and they created Clementine, which Clementine is a fantastic audio player. Or I guess I launched Amarok. I really wasn't trying to launch it. There's no music in this VM to listen to anyway. And we have Juke. Let's see what this is. I haven't seen this one in a while. Jukebox and Music Manager for TDE, the Trinity desktop environment. I am not familiar with that program at all. First time I've seen that one. Okay. Also under multimedia, we have K3B, K-Mix, Caffeine, Cover Artist, Pulse Audio, VLC, XCam. And down here, Sound Converter with a K. KDE and their K apps. K Address Book, KPDF, Kyle, which is K-I-L-E. I don't know what that is. Kyle 2.0. First time I've heard of that one. Let's see. Integrated, yeah, latex environment. Okay. Anyway, see what I'm missing here in the chat. Yeah, Steve says, so true, DT, but Fluxbox brings back happy memories for me. Yeah, it's a fine window manager. The problem is, what does it do that OpenBox doesn't do? And what OpenBox usually does them a lot better. Yes. Presentarms, I gave 128 vid, 512 RAM, 15 gig hard drive, 2 cores. Yeah, everything I did, I just... You know what? We can take a look at the settings. It actually doesn't hurt to look at the settings. I can't change some of the settings while the VM is running, but we can look at them. If I open up the settings here, under General, I didn't play with any of this. Pretty much left at the same system. Processor, I gave it 2 cores. Didn't do anything with acceleration, or didn't do anything with motherboard. Left all that as the defaults. Display, yeah, 64 video memory, and of course enable 3D acceleration. Of course the storage, of course, is the ISO here. It's attached. Audio, really none of this should matter. Really the main things are really system, display, and storage. I don't know. I don't see anything out of place as far as like the normal stuff I put in every single VM I ever create. So I don't know. It's weird. Weird that it works on your machine. But I always have a problem with PCLinuxOS and a VM on my machine. That taskbar is huge. Yeah. Yeah, the taskbar is interesting. I'll give it that. It's got character, though. They simply renamed. Let's see, renamed Amarok. Yeah, KDE 3 Amarok is Clementine now. Yep. And Clementine's such a great audio player. It really is. Amarok should just go away. Yeah, Amarok and Juke are in the sys tray. I did catch some of that. I'm going to kill some of what's going on in the sys tray here in a minute. Especially when I check the system resources. I already know Trinity is very, very lightweight, so I expect some really, really low H-top numbers here in a minute. Assuming H-top's on the system. I'm not sure what system monitor you've got installed. DT, what's your opinion on Manjaro so far? I've been running Manjaro for the last month on my main production machine. Works fine. That's why I keep it. I ran it for 3 months straight early on in the channel's history on my main production machine before doing a whole bunch of hopping. Never had a problem with Manjaro. It just works. Yeah, the same as yours except 3D, and that wouldn't affect it. Yeah, so you didn't have 3D acceleration ticked on. I wouldn't think that would affect Grub though. Yeah. So that's strange, yeah? Yeah, DT. Tabbed windows might be the only thing in built-in taskbar, background display, but OpenBox can probably look more modern. Yeah, really neither Fluxbox or OpenBox look modern, but they can be made to look attractive. I love the way they look. But yeah, they're definitely not modern, but they're so dang customizable and so dang fast. Yeah, Presentarms, you can change the taskbar, I'm sure. If it's the standard KDE panel, you know, you can tweak it to your heart's content. Yeah, K-SysGuard for a sys monitor. Okay, well, we'll check that out. Let's go ahead. Let's see, anything else I want to take a look at? Office, of course, you had the entire LibreOffice suite. Great decision. Again, even though Trinity, very, very lightweight desktop environment, but for Office programs, if you're going to have Office programs, yeah, just go ahead and put LibreOffice on it. Don't try to put, you know, the minimal stuff on it. I think most people are just going to wipe that stuff off anyway and end up installing LibreOffice. Go ahead and save them the trouble. Just go ahead and put LibreOffice on there by default. Under settings, we have a setting for audio CDs. I don't think that I've ever seen that in any kind of like settings category before. I'm not sure what that did though. Nothing popped up. Something going on in the sys tray. Let me close a lot of this stuff in the sys tray. We mentioned Amarok is going on here. Let's see, we got Juke still working. What is this? That's the Ethernet. We probably need that. Screen size. Yeah, 1024 was the width. Clipper, I really don't need the clipboard. Let's go ahead and... Should Clipper start automatically when you log in? Nah. If I want it. K-Mix, we'll leave all that. What's this one? That's the system monitor. Lost and found. We have BleachBit. OBS Studio is installed. Very cool. Let's see if I can go ahead and find K-SysGuard. I'm assuming it's under System. And we have ClamAV for antivirus. Very cool. Yeah, K-SysGuard right above ClamAV. This is a very strange looking K-SysGuard. Of course, this is going to be a very old version of it. The old KDE3 version of it. This is actually called TDE System Guard. Okay. Anyway, we have our processes. We can look at all the processes running. I'm sure we could kill any process that gets out of control. System load, CPU, memory, swap. No. Double-clicking the top bar of a program basically rolls it up. Huh. I was actually expecting it to maximize it. That's the functionality I normally expect that to do, but that's cool. Anyway, I wish it just told me some numbers rather than this weird graph here. Or am I just missing something here? Maybe I should just pull up HTOP. You know what? Let's pull up a terminal. Did you know? Please don't ever show that to me again. Okay. Is HTOP installed? No, it's not. What's the command to install HTOP? Is sudo on here? Sudo apt-get update. Nope, no sudo. So we got to do su. root is the password, so apt get update. The stream may get a little choppy while it updates, while it syncs the repos. Yeah, Sue for root. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, Toby, I'm going to give OpenSUSE Leap a try soon. Yeah, very good distro. If you guys want a stable, easy-to-use distro that's not Ubuntu, OpenSUSE is probably the next one to go with. OpenSUSE Leap, not Tumbleweed. Tumbleweed is rolling release. Don't do that, unless you know what you're doing. Kerwin says, hey DT, have you ever looked at eLive Linux? I have not, but I probably should. I've been seeing it in the news here lately. I guess they had a release recently or something. Yeah, Rex, Manjaro's rolling release sister like Arch, but seeing you don't have any problem with it, will you put Manjaro on the same spot as Mint or Ubuntu or any LTS? No. If you're asking, is Manjaro like comparable to something like Mint or Ubuntu or LTS releases, something like Debian stable? No. It's still a rolling release. Just because I don't have any problems with it doesn't mean a new user wouldn't have any problems with it. I mean, I'm going to have things break on Manjaro. They may be minor breakages, things I can fix within a couple of minutes. But still, the things that will break on Manjaro are things that will not break on Debian stable, the Ubuntu LTS, Linux Mint, Elementary. The fact is, rolling release distros, here's the thing. The more packages that are being updated on your system, the more of a chance something's going to break. It's just the law of averages there. On stable distros, they only update like the core components, for security updates. Things like, like all the multimedia apps we've already discussed, Amarok, Clementine, those things are not important. Whatever was installed when you first installed Ubuntu or Debian, you're never getting a newer version. That is the only version you ever get. Where on something like Arch or Gentoo or Debian SID, the unstable branch of Debian, or OpenSUSE Tumbleweed, everything is rolling. Every single package on the system will be updated at some point. And that's dangerous. You're going to run into some problems along the way. Experienced users, can usually fix the problems that crop up. Newer users should avoid rolling releases for a while. Live in something like Ubuntu or Mint or, OpenSUSE Leap, for 6 months, a year at least, before you really jump into something Arch-based. All right. Anyway. That apt-get update is done. Really, I just wanted to apt-get install htop. Very small package, htop. Should just take a second. Yeah, and then run htop. All right. We'll let things settle down here for a second. Yeah, CPU is basically 2%, under 2%. Yeah, very light on CPU. Memory usage is actually a little higher than I would expect for the Trinity desktop, 548 megs. That number is about twice as high as I would expect, actually, for Trinity. Trinity is usually really lightweight, like under 300 megs. So 548. Let's see. What is taking up some of that memory? See if I can maximize this window here. See if we see anything. Nothing. I mean, Perl, Xorg, Kicker. What is Kicker? That's TDE init. Is that the init system on this? I'm not familiar with Kicker. We got Kmix, we got console, Knotify. Anyway. RAM's a little higher than I expected. I mean, that's still 548 megs. That's not heavy at all. Just a little higher than what I was thinking. I know when I reviewed Q4 OS on the channel, that particular distro that uses the Trinity desktop environment, it's Debian based, I think that thing was using like 200 megs of memory. But of course it all depends on what's going on in the background. What kind of daemons are running, what kind of things are going on in the background, the things we don't see. Yeah, Presentarms, I'm enjoying this and taking notes. Well, I don't know if anything here is worth taking notes at. Just kind of a first look, impromptu stream, with you and your distro and Ben's distro. Like I said, I didn't take a look at either one of them before starting the stream. So basically, Ben's, I ran through the install process. Yours, of course, I didn't even get through the install process, so this really is a first look here. Going back to Ben's distro, one thing I wanted to mention, you guys that try Ben's distro on a live USB stick, when you put it in the machine, you get the Manjaro boot menu that comes up, and one of the options is choosing drivers for the live environment. You have the option of choosing the free drivers or the non-free drivers. Choose the free drivers. If you choose non-free drivers, it may not boot up. I had that problem on my laptop behind me. If I chose non-free drivers at the boot menu, it did not boot up. I went back and chose free drivers, booted up fine. So again, that was for Ben's Manjaro spin. So choose the free drivers in the live environment if you're running it on a live USB key. Let's see. Yeah, OpenSUSE is very nice. Siberian. It's good to finally catch a stream. Great to see another classical musician who's a free software enthusiast. Cheers, sir. What do you play, Siberian? And Presentarms, can you download eLive for free? I'm not sure. Again, I don't know anything about it. I've never used it. Like I said, I've heard a little bit about it in the last few days. I guess they had a release recently. And I believe, does it use Enlightenment? It uses the Enlightenment window manager, I think. Yeah, Presentarms says, last I heard, you had to pay. I'm not sure. Kerwin Jones says, eLive is free, but you have to wait 3 days before you can download it through an email link that they send you. That's weird. I wonder why they do that. Yeah, undefined particle, excuse me. I'd advise new users to put a rolling release in a VM and see how many things they can break, then attempt to fix them until they're sure they won't do something silly on hardware. Yeah, because rolling release distros, you're going to have problems. You're going to have an update that breaks Pulse Audio. You're going to have an update that breaks Grub. Does fixing your bootloader sound scary? If it does, don't install a rolling release. If fixing Grub, you've done it a million times, yeah, go ahead. Even more problematic stuff. I mean, you could have something break Xorg, and of course you could have the dreaded kernel panic, which I don't usually fix kernel panics. If I boot up and see a kernel panic, the very next thing I'm doing is nuking and paving and installing something else. Presentarms says kicker is the taskbar. So the taskbar, it was taking up the most memory, or pretty high memory. KDE init is the init for Trinity itself. Okay. It uses sysv init for the init. Okay. And that's PCLinuxOS just in general. They're still on sysv. They don't ever plan on going with systemd, or they doing that out of principle. It's pretty much sysv. Kind of a dead project too. Mr. F, oh snap, how late am I? Pretty late. Pretty late. We've been streaming about an hour and 10 minutes now, Mr. F. But I'm going to be on a little bit longer. Let's see. Yeah, I do not think a new user should start with LTS release. Wait, you do think. Excuse me, yeah. Yeah, new users, LTS releases are the way to go. Siberian, you're a pianist. Finishing up your first degree this coming year. Very cool. Yeah, Muse score has been a lifesaver. Yeah, Mr. F, you're a musician as well. You play guitar and the didgeridoo. Very cool. I always wanted to learn guitar. I know a little bit how it works, but I really haven't put in the time to really learn the guitar. Shush about grub. Yeah, Presentarms. Bloody pain in the rear end is grub. Yes, on sysv, the main dev hates systemd and avoids it. Okay. Well, that's going to be a problem going forward with PCLinuxOS because you're never going to be able to install snap packs or flat packs if you don't have systemd on the system. Systemd is a dependency of both snap and flatpak. So alright. I'm going to right click on the desktop here. If I click configure desktop, let's see, do we have any wallpapers we could use? Let's see, background, picture, default. Is there anything else to look at? Yep. So there are a list of wallpapers. If I click apply, see if I can make this a little smaller where you guys can see it. Guess I can only make this window so small at this screen resolution, but guess I could minimize it. That's weird how that minimizes just to that one little corner. Anyway, looks like it's got some pretty cool nature photographs here. Not sure what wallpaper pack you're using here. Is this one of the standard wallpaper packs in PCLinuxOS? Or is this like a Trinity desktop environment specific wallpaper pack? Looks like it's got some good stuff in here. I always like pictures of auroras. Yeah. Really nice. Yeah, I like that. That's classy. I like wallpapers without a lot of stuff going on. You know, I don't like having a million different colors on the desktop. Something like that is very classy, actually, with the translucent panel. Yeah, I think I could stick with that. Yeah, Mr. F. OMG, 1.5 hours. So late. Yeah, you're a little late. You didn't miss too much, though. We're just checking out Ben's custom Manjaro spin, Presentarms, his PCLinuxOS Trinity. I've got links to both those in the description for everybody that wants to download these ISOs and take them for a spin yourself. If you don't want to go through the trouble of installing them, just put them on a USB key. It's actually a great way to test out distros is using a USB key. I did them in a VM is because I wanted to go through the install process just to see, you know, if there were any problems with the install process. For example, that grub problem, you know, I wouldn't have discovered that had I just ran it off a live USB key. Although that may be a problem specifically for me because I guess Presentarms, you were able to get grub to install using MBR in VirtualBox on your machine. That's weird. I tried it 3 times and I couldn't get it to work. Failed every time. Hi, I'm Zaza. I play my mechanical keyboard. Yeah, you use the LTS kernel. I like LTS kernels. The latest is 4.16. Yeah, I'm using 4.14 on Manjaro because, like you, I like the LTS kernel. I don't need a kernel update, you know, like every day. For one thing, that's a big update, updating the kernel. And why do you need the kernel updated? If everything's working, just stay on the LTS, you know. Unless you've got some, like, super new hardware that really needs something in that very latest kernel. There's no reason to be on the latest kernel. Yeah, between those two, I would go Fedora. Talking about Tumbleweed versus Fedora. Yeah, I mean, it depends on the user. I don't recommend... Tumbleweed really should be for advanced users. Yeah, man. It's not the easiest distro to maintain, OpenSUSE Tumbleweed. Yeah, Presentarms. There are shims for Snap and FLAC, like how MX uses it. Now, MX, yeah, MX has the option of using either sysv or systemd. I believe that's correct. Like they're not opposed to you using systemd on MX. Now, Antics, which is developed by some of the same people, Antics only sysv. You're not putting systemd on Antics. I mean, I guess you could, but it's probably more trouble than it's worth changing out the init system. Yeah, Presentarms, that's the standard in Trinity. So the wallpapers, that's a wallpaper pack that comes with the Trinity desktop environment. Very cool. Yeah, Q1 Fiend is in the chat. For a moment, I forgot all about Sepia Tone. Yeah. Alan Rocco says, see you guys, night shift. See you, Alan. Good to see you. Alright, Rex, just a request, DT, since you haven't reviewed i3. Please also include i3 gaps. People that use i3 will probably also use i3 gaps. Probably so. And I can tell you that the version of i3 that I'm going to use will be i3 gaps because it's what's already installed in Manjaro i3 edition, which is what I'm actually running. I installed Manjaro's i3 edition on my main production machine. You guys know I live in Qtile and sometimes Xmonad, but the i3 session that is on here by default is i3 gaps, so that is what you will see. Yeah, Maverick says, question, would the original Slackware Linux run on IBM PS1 386? I have no idea. I mean, that would require a little research. Like offhand, I couldn't tell you anything about like the very first version of Slackware, or anything about the IBM PS1. I'm assuming you're trying to find something to put on that machine, that vintage computer. It would be great if you could get a Linux distro on it. Probably going to have trouble on that one. You might have to put Windows on it. Windows 3.11. Yeah, and Lucino in the chat. You can't remove systemd without creating 1,000 new problems. It's like the JavaScript of Linux, yeah? Yeah, you acquired it from an e-waste corporate event. Ah. That's really cool. That's a nice find, actually. When you find, like really classic vintage hardware. That's, people would consider garbage now because you really can't find anything that's going to run on it. I mean, nothing's going to run on that machine. No modern operating system's going to run on it. So, but for nerds like us, yeah. Yep, FreeDOS, somebody mentioned. That would actually make a lot of sense. Put something like FreeDOS on it, maybe? I don't know. Gen2, Slackware, and Dev1 disagree. I'm assuming they disagree about systemd because, yeah. Yeah. I mean, there are a few distros that refuse to get on the systemd train, but they are just a few distros. Pretty much everybody's on systemd, unfortunately. I mean, when you talk about, like, the big distros, I mean, think about it. Probably 70% of everybody that uses a Linux distro on their desktop is using a Debian-based Linux distro. Because Ubuntu, of course, is Debian-based. Anyway, Debian uses systemd. So right there, just a huge percentage of the Linux market share is using systemd. Of course, then we didn't even talk about Fedora and all the spin-offs of Fedora, SUSE, and Arch even. I mean, think about how many Arch distros there are nowadays. And Arch is on the systemd train too. Yeah, there's always FreeDOS for old 386 systems. The oldest system I installed Linux on was a 486 DX2, and it was Red Hat 7.1. I think for 486 architecture, I think there are some distros you can still... I think Gentoo. I think Gentoo is still a possibility for 486, I think. I don't know. I've never done it myself, but... Of course, you know, Gentoo, you compile things to your hardware, your specific hardware. There's a million options in Gentoo. Yeah, 386 was the first 32-bit processor. Yeah, Presentarms, he ran Slack in 386, SX25. Okay. Morality. Hi, DT. How's it going? How are you? Morality 124. Good to see you. All right. New user. Hi, sorry for my bad English. Does open source code increase security? Yes, it does. I could read the rest of your sentence, but yeah, it does. The more eyes on your code, the more likely people are going to find the exploits, the holes in it. And then, of course, the more people that find those exploits and security bugs, the more people are around to patch it too. How can we know exactly that FBI programmers or North Korea didn't find any security holes and didn't tell the community? Well, I mean, they're free to find, you know, bugs or whatever in the open source code and not tell people. But, you know, somebody else is eventually going to find it too. The thing with open source software compared to closed source software is most of the time when we find like security bugs, vulnerabilities, viruses. Yeah, I mean, we've had viruses and Trojans, you know, crop up from time to time. Those things are usually patched before, like, news articles are written about it. Like, you'll see an article, for example, on Phoronix or OMG Ubuntu or whatever free and open source news you happen to read, and you'll read about this security exploit. And, you know, at the end of the article, they'll tell you, oh, by the way, this has already been patched in all these distros. So if you updated your machine, you've already been patched for whatever that security problem was. You know, before you ever even clicked on that news article and read about it. Way, way different than proprietary operating systems like Windows, Mac, where they know their operating system has bugs and has exploits. And, I mean, they know specifically what some of them are. And they refuse to fix it, either for lack of manpower, lack of funds, you know, or just a lack of interest. They can leave some of their bugs for decades. Where open source software, anybody's free to check it out, commit patches to it. Yeah, Siberian, System D. It doesn't help that GNOME requires it now. Yeah, well, GNOME and System D are basically Red Hat projects, so it makes sense why GNOME requires System D. You know, it's GNOME, System D, and it also makes sense why Flatpak also requires System D, because that's another kind of Red Hat project. So that's the reason all of that is kind of tied in the way it is. It's unfortunate. Yeah, Siberian says that's just another reason not to use GNOME. Yeah. Comrade Curio, System D works. It's not perfect, but it works. Yeah. Let's see. I'm going to kill the stream here in a minute. That was really all I wanted to do here, taking a look at PCLinuxOS Trinity here, which is Presentarms' spin of this. Let's see. How do I close this? If I log out, will it give me, yep, turn off computer? I'm curious how long it will take to shut down, because the thing took a long time to start up. It took forever to boot into the live environment. Anyway, I'm going to go back to the chat. I'll let you know when it finally shut down. Actually, going back to it, press enter once the live CD is removed. Okay, well, do I really need to remove the live CD? Oh, well. Oh. Okay. And I'm just going to catch up on the chat here, and then I'm going to shut down the stream. One thing I will say, Ben, great job on the Manjaro spin. Really liked Ben's custom Manjaro spin with the XFCE desktop environment, with compiz, window decorations, and wobbly windows, and all of that stuff. Really cool. Presentarms, great job. PCLinuxOS Trinity. Love the Trinity desktop environment. Really nice, minimal, lightweight, fast desktop environment. That's more my speed. I really love, I'm a speed freak. I like lightweight stuff. I like windows that just open instantly, close instantly, menus that just open instantly. That's me. So, Presentarms, PCLinuxOS Trinity. I've got a link to your webpage. I was asking Ben about his webpage. He doesn't really have a website. I linked to Google Drive where you can download Ben's ISO. Presentarms, you guys do have a distro or website for your distro. Let's see. Trinity.mypclinuxos.com. So I've got that in the description. So everybody, please feel free. Matter of fact, a lot of you guys love to hop. Check out Ben's custom spin of Manjaro. Check out Presentarms, his PCLinuxOS Trinity. Check it out in a VM, live USB key, or even check it out on physical hardware if you got an extra machine. I'm sure they would love to hear your experiences with their distro. Help them out, Sure, there are going to be some bugs, but they need to know about them. It really helps. So. Yeah, another problem is how it's increasingly harder to audit the code due to complexity. Well, are you talking about a specific project? Might have been talking about systemd. I know we were chatting about that a second ago. Yeah, that's why I favor OpenBSD, because Theo sticks to certain coding standards and practices and is resistant to corporate influence. He wants auditable, secure code. Yep. I need to check out OpenBSD on the channel one day. Sounds like it's a neat project. Hola, amigos. Hola. See, systemd also takes half an era to boot on old machines. Yeah. You tried booting both Q4 OS and Antix on an old Athlon XP machine. The former took 10 minutes, the latter like 1. Yeah, I don't want to be waiting 10 minutes for a machine to boot up. That's kind of crazy. Yeah, it removes it from VirtualBox automatically, talking about closing it. Okay. Yeah, I didn't have to do anything when it said hit Control D or whatever. I did that, and I thought maybe it didn't register because I was actually going to a terminal to run Xkill. But turns out I didn't have to run Xkill. It eventually closed the window. It just took a couple of seconds. Yeah, Theo did call out Intel on its exploits way back in 2007. Yeah, talking about Theo Durat, lead dev for OpenBSD. Seems like he's a cool guy. Like I said, I don't know too much about him or OpenBSD, but I should take a look at OpenBSD on the channel at some point. I think we all know Temple OS is the future, though. Yeah? DT, have you used the common desktop environment yet? I have not. I'm not sure if I'm going to take a look at it at some point or not. The common desktop environment, CDE, I don't think is recommended for normal everyday use anyway. I know I think it's the Arch Wiki or the Gentoo Wiki. I was reading about it, looking at other obscure window managers maybe to review at some point, and there are some security issues with CDE. So yes, Sim Gunther. Blind trust for any init system is always a bad idea. Doing the research is necessary for your ideal init system. In my case, Runit, initv are pretty good, but most people won't mind systemd. Yeah, I don't mind systemd. I like Runit and Void. sysv works. I mean, sysv worked forever in Debian. Upstart worked forever in Ubuntu. I had no problems with Upstart. Gentoo and OpenRC, that works fine too. The machine boots up. That's all that matters for me. Alright, well guys, I'm going to kill the stream. I'm going to kill the stream in about 1 more minute, so last call for alcohol here. If you got anything else to say? Again, you guys in the chat, be sure to thank both Ben and Presentarms for their excellent distros here. Let's see. Comrade Curio. People are starting to mind with Windows 10. Yeah, as far as like some of the security problems and stuff in Windows 10, the fact that it's basically spyware. Yeah, Presentarms. Thanks for the review. Awesome, and more people use it. Yeah, I'm sure, you know, a few people watch this stream and of course the video afterwards, and hopefully check out what you're doing. Heck, maybe you'll find more people to contribute to the project. I don't know how many people you've got working on PCLinuxOS Trinity. Looking at the website, it looked like you had 2 people. 2 people mainly. English Bob is in the house. He says, "Hey Derek, how you doing, EB? Hope all is well, sir." Kerwin Jones, old Intel Core 2 quad-based PCs run great with a lot of distros. Yes, they do. And those old Intel Core 2 machines, you know, most of them are like, what, 7, 8 years old now. You can find those things cheap. You know, you can find old laptops like some Lenovo ThinkPads, you know, that were Core 2, you know, and refurbished maybe under $200, maybe $150. You can find some of those things. And you're right. They'll run most any Linux distro. Run them great. Where you're not going to run Windows 10 on them. I mean, you can, but it's going to run like a dog. Yeah. Woo Young. Wow, in Seoul. You're in Seoul, Korea? Very cool. Welcome to the channel. Yeah, EB60 watching. Please thumb the stream up. Thanks. Thanks, EB. Yeah. And I often forget to tell people, you know, I usually don't tell you guys to, you know, do a thumbs up, like, subscribe, share, all that. But it does help. Thumbs up, you know, any kind of like and share helps rank better in YouTube's algorithms. When people do a search for this video, you know, more likely are they going to find it because I'm going to rank better. Same thing with doing the comments. We get a lot of chatter. I get a lot of comments on my videos. We get a lot of discussion, and that's great. That stuff really helps. So, thanks, EB. Yeah, Presentarms. I have a Core D that runs really well. Yeah, CDE is for that 90s nostalgia. When I look at it, I just want to say it's a Unix system. Yeah, EB, are we going to get a live stream today? That's Comrade Curio asking that. Also me asking that. It's very late here. I probably couldn't stay up for a stream if he was about to do one. What is this Windows of which you speak? Oh, you mean X Windows. Yeah, I am working all day, but hopefully about 2 p.m. GMT. Okay. Yep, so Presentarms, I asked about how many devs they had. 2, yep. 2 people doing 2 different projects in tandem. So 2 different versions of PCLinuxOS Trinity. You work on one, he works on the other. The Free Software Foundation uses Core 2 Duo ThinkPads with Libre BIOS, if I recall correctly. Alright guys, well I'm going to go ahead and kill the stream. This was really fun. I'm glad you guys got to hang out with me for almost like about 1 hour and 30 and some change. Anyway, I'm going to, again, have the links to both Ben's distro and Presentarms distro in the description. You guys go ahead, download those ISOs, check it out. You guys got any suggestions, find any bugs or anything, let those guys know. I'm sure they want to hear from you. Yeah, Kerwin Jones says, good night, DT. Yeah, good night, Kerwin. Pretty much good night, everybody. I'm going to go ahead and shut it down. The folks that are still here, Comrade, EB, Kerwin, Matt, Morality, Presentarms, everybody else that's watching, Before I go, of course, I do need to give a special thanks to all my patrons, my Patreon supporters, A.K. Ron, Mr. Neely Pops, John, Brian, Carl, Greg, Carlos, Rob, Matt, Darkwin, Mark, Christian, Jake, Benjamin, Stephen B, Stephen Z, Marcus Interceptor, Bob, Leor, Omar, Silvio, David, Alex, Bruno, Mike, Daniel, Nick, Eduardo, and David. You guys are all awesome. You guys help make this show possible. Peace, guys.